But you take in consideration cutting this, because I've looked at equipment, but then you gotta load it up in the truck. Then you get in a situation with your cycle time of, loading up the trucks, taking the dirt. Then the question is, where do you take the dirt? And so I was looking at production. How can we get the most maximum production? Because we go back to the old school where everybody's using great alls and stuff like that, we'll never catch up. I understand this is done, I talked to John, I said, the farmer's going to be mad about this. And he said most of them probably won't. They understand that, the need for drainage, so that we can not be putting tons and tons of stone on there, and the road gets saturated, and all of a sudden it's just pushed down into the subgrade. So again, trying to get 2 to 5 miles a day on one side of the road, so that we get some production. That still means that we still are going to have to conventionally cut ditches and use trucks around residents and be sensitive to that situation. But I was looking at a majority of our roads, probably 70%, are in farm areas. So again, just trying to get production.
I think it's going to come down to some case-by-case items, like you mentioned. Some farmers may not want anything to do with it, so we're going to have to talk to each landowner as we go through this process. But to Jim's point, if we just use that grade hole and take a 2 or 3 foot swipe every time, it's going to take forever. It has taken forever. It's what we got today. So we need something that's quicker and more effective to do the job.
While we're on that subject, I'm not sure if there's a law or ordinance or whatever when it pertains to the farmers, but I do know that they pay taxes to the center of the road. And for families that have had a farm for decades or hundreds of years, they have paid their fair share of taxes on the roadways. So I don't think that farming too close to the road is as much of a factor as wind erosion when it comes to, it doesn't matter if it's 2 feet farther away. I think the ditches get filled in from wind erosion. But 2 things I would like for you to ask when you go and check out the counties that are using these is, one is, have they had complaints from the farmers due to the unwanted stuff blown in their field? And 2, the only problem that I see with this is the kind of ditch that it cuts. The farmers do an amazing job of mowing the ditches in this county, and that is a huge savings to the county for how much they maintain of the ditches. And this thing says it cuts up to 27 inches deep, and I realize there's times where you do need to go a little deeper, but is that not going to cause a problem for the maintenance of the ditches as far as the mowing goes? I understand the cumbersome of cutting the ditch the way you do, but you really get a nice mowable ditch. To me, it looks like you'd have to dress it up after this thing. It looks like an amazing machine, but also, I would ask them if they get into a real muddy spot, do they end up with a big glob stopped up in that thing, or is it,
One video, it shows them actually along the edge of the road where it was standing full water.
Standing full of water, I could see it blowing that. But there's a point between full of water and dry where, like a backhoe bucket even gets stopped up. Just a question that, I'm not saying it doesn't have its place and time, but I'm wondering about the mowing issue. If we did hundreds of miles of ditches and cut a, tractor tire get down in there and you're done, or they won't get mowed or whatever. Just a missed thought when I saw that. So.
Yeah, Mark, one of the things on that equipment, you can change the pitch of the head because I think of that shows it pretty straight up and down, but you can flatten that out so you have more of like a 3-to-1 slope, so you can set that profile on that. And then plus, you can run this, crops, out to before you plant. Some counties, they run it all year round, and they just throw the dirt into the crops. Yeah, again, we want to make sure we're getting the right piece of equipment.
It seems to me also that we don't need to abandon all of our chip and seal roads. I think it's a foregone conclusion, we're not going to blacktop all of our chip and seal roads, so I would hope we're not going to abandon the chip and seal program. We're not going to get around in the next number of years to blacktopping all these roads. So we need to, in my opinion, we need to continue the chip and seal program, because we've got some chip and seal roads out there that's in a heck of a shape, and if we don't continue that program, we're going to bounce around for the rest of our lives, and we're never going to get them. We're never going to get them fixed. And I look at the road in my community, in my district, and I look at 100 West, and we say we're going to fix it, but we're not going to fix it in my lifetime. And we're going to do a mile a year or whatever it is, and I look at 400 West that goes past my house, and what did we do? We did it. It's a great road. And so what did we do? We increased the traffic 100%. We increased the speed limit. No, we did not do that intentionally, but we increased the speed limit by 15 miles an hour. And nobody pays any attention to the speed limit. So we can't compete with Tippecanoe County. And I drive a lot of these different county roads, and I look at the ones that are better. So they have a combination of chip and seal and blacktop. And the state even used chip and seal. I look at Highway 14. Chip and seal program on Highway 14 lasted 3 years. It was a good road for 3 years, heavily traveled. Now, if we can do that on a county road and it lasts 3 years, or if it lasts 4 years or 5 years, that's still a better deal that we can at least give our citizens where they can drink a cup of coffee as they're riding down the road, instead of 100 West that goes from out here at the Chevrolet dealership up to 700 North, a very heavily traveled road, and you can't hardly sit still in your car. And there's a lot of others, and if you get away from the flagpole, which is Crawfordsville, the county seat, and look at these blacktop roads that have been chip and sealed, and you bounce around on all of them, and they're never going to be blacktop. Look at your plan. They're never going to be blacktop. I understand we're going to do 300 South out past Dean Rush's house. Somebody told me we're going to do that. That's the worst road in the county. Those people have suffered forever with dust. We have got, my opinion, I'm going to be off of here, but we have got to regenerate that program, in my opinion. Not cost effective in the next 100 years, I understand that. But it's a program, if you look at 500 North in my district, you can't hardly sit on it as you drive down the road. And if you look at the program, it's not going to be blacktopped in the next 10 years. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to punish your citizens of the county for 10 years while you're waiting for the blacktop? No, you're not. You're just going to continue the program. So you have to have, in my judgment, you need a combination of these things. Of course, That's what you call maintenance. You maintain what you got, and then you continue to improve with the money that you've got, and you lay on the good stuff with what you got. But you can't depend on being able to overlay with the good stuff all of those old roads that we have inherited in the past. Of course, that's the best that we could. And then when we do it, of course, we attract all the farmers, and with the semis, that all happened at one time, and then that was the best road to the markets, and of course, when we chip and seal a good road, then the semis are all come, and they go through it a little bit quicker. But the word maintenance, you maintain what you got until the state or Uncle Sam or somebody gives us some more money, we lay on the good stuff.
And Dick, I don't want to interrupt you. You know, there's 4.4 million in the motor vehicle highway that is for maintenance, ongoing, all the projects that you're doing for that. I mean, you know, we gave you a long-term asset management plan, but, you know, we're still putting 4.4 million or whatever, I don't know, it might be a little less than that. But, you know, so just because we didn't identify,
Yeah.
those ongoing things are
Okay,
routine.
okay, John, just ask me, how many miles did we chip and seal this year, and what's the plan for next year?
If I can address that,
Okay?
one thing you notice next year, I'm not chip and sealing, or we're not chip and sealing a road. The reason why, when we did our analysis of our roads, our asphalt, our chip and seal, it's identified that we need $43 million to address those roads, to bring them up to standards. Obviously, we can't do that. So what I've done with Jeremy is what we're going to do this year, that next year, we are going to identify the roads that we're going to chip and seal. But before we do that, I want the berms cut, I want the ditches cut, I want all the culverts that need to be replaced, any of the jump paving. I want all that done before we put chip and seal. And according to what they're saying, to bring our chip and seal roads up, we need to do a double chip and seal on that road. And then in addition to that, we need to fog seal those roads on top of it. So we're putting that stone down, we need to lock it in place. So exactly what you're saying is we need to have a program that address the chip and seal roads, the asphalt roads, that we're putting money into it. They better last, 3 to 5 years before we have to address it again. But again, instead of wasting money, we need to make sure we get the infrastructure corrected before we start doing our chip and seal or asphalt. And Jeremy and I know that. When we did all the paving this year for community crossing, we made sure that we got all those culverts replaced that need to be replaced before we spent money on that asphalt. So I agree 100% with you.
I think to follow up on what Jim's saying is that we recognized that there's some deplorable roads out there, there's no question about it. They're bumpy, they're just not good. But we've got an understaffed highway department too, so I think Jeremy and Amber put, six new employees into the budget this year. Since this is a budget meeting, we're talking about budget items. We're going to have more help. You can't do all that everybody wants done with no people to do it, or not enough people to do it.
Well, what's the steps, Phil, we have to do this for more employees?
What's the steps? What do you mean?
Yeah, did they just put that in there in the highway budget, and do we have to approve that, Terry?
When you approve the budget, it'd be your
Yeah, but if they have the money in the budget, I'm just trying to think that one through. I've been here for so many years now, I can't figure that one out. You've been here longer. How do we do?
Well, we could add any time, I guess, but the plan is to add more into the next budget season. And not bust this year's budget, so to speak. The other thing that Jim didn't mention is the fact that we're gonna job out the chip and seal, what, 50 miles a year is our plan.
That's correct.
We're trying to identify the things that the county highway can do well and the things that, you know, they're too slow at, to be honest about it. And chip and seal is one of those operations that if you have a event come along with a flood down south or a road washes out, they have to take all their people and trucks and move them down there. So like up on, what was that road, 750 north that you did a couple years ago. It took all summer to get that one stretch of road done between the Richmond Road and halfway between my house and Elmdale. I forget the number. It's like 7 something. Anyway, we just are understaffed, and it's been an issue ever since 2005 when I came in here. That was one of the first things we had was a meeting up in the courtroom, and Harold Barkley called the meeting and started cutting people, and I understand that. You can't pay if you don't have the money to do it, but we're getting ourselves into position with Jeff's report about how we're going to utilize some of these funds to where I think, and I'm like you, I'll be off here too, but it's going to happen afterwards, and you can't just get it done this year or next.
Jim, or maybe Jeremy can answer this. How many bridges do we still have in the county that have, what do they call them, dead man bridges with the concrete embankments on both sides? Well, the question is, I was under the impression years ago that there was a mandate to get rid of those types of bridges. Is that not the case? Is that no?
Well, I'm not aware of that regulation,
It was in a highway plan previously to systematically get rid of the ones where if you impact it, you die kind of bridges. I don't know how many we have left that way.
looking, driving around, there's several, and I don't know, I'm just, the ones that I've been looking that are really in serious condition, I've made those as priority. I'll do an inventory of which ones that we need. I'll work on that so that, so you know what we're doing. And, hopefully it's, 5 years we can get these all caught up. But I don't know exactly the number of them, but I will find out and address those. And then regarding the chip and seal, Clinton County subbed out 50 miles of road this year, and Hutton County did 50 miles. So that's where we need to get that up.
How much per mile does it cost? Not including the culverts and stuff. What per mile?
Chip and seal runs about double. I believe it's around $20,000 a mile. I've got my numbers over here that I can give you. If we do double, if you do single, it runs about $10,000 to $12,000 a year. So if I do single with fog, it's about $12,000, and then probably $20,000 if we do double with the fog.
Well, if you hire it out, can they do it as cheap as what we can do it ourselves, or is it about an even wash?
They can do it a lot more efficient because my feeling is we've got to contract or concentrate our resources with the drainage, the right-of-way clearing, the ditch berming, maintaining the roads. We've identified culverts that are 6 foot or 5 foot below. We're going to do the replacement. Anything above that, we're going to contract out. Exactly with those culverts, I'm bundling a bunch of those together so that we, get these more efficient. If a contractor knows he's got 3 of them, we'll probably get a better price. If we got a contractor doing 50 miles and they're doing 50 miles in Clinton County right there, they can just jump the crew over to here. The problem that we're seeing is what I've been hearing is we start the chip and seal process, and then all of a sudden they have to get pulled off and do some other emergency repairs. So we're not just sticking on that same job. I think Mark and I discussed this. You've got to identify what you do the best and then subcontract out this stuff. So you basically are doing the most efficient job with the money that we have. I hope that answers your
Makes
question.
sense.
Richard, I guess a couple things to your comments. I would encourage you just in one area, just one that I know off the top of my head, to go out and drive 50 south from Skank Road to where it comes into the curve of Country Club Road. That road was just done a month and a half, 2 months ago, exactly what you're talking about on top of a chip and seal. It was like driving down a chisel plowed field, and now if you go drive it, see the difference of what it is. And that was exactly what you're talking about doing. What you got to remember, and we can't change the past, we can only work going on in the future, is part of our problem with these chip and seals is the way the program was started back in the late 90s, early 2000s. We were worried about quantity and not quality. We went out and laid a thin, paper-thin newspaper chip and seal road, 750 north from the Richmond Blacktop over to 600 west probably, was one of the first ones they did. And I wish today we had a dollar figure on how much money has been on that road since it was originally chip and sealed. And it was all because we wanted to lay as many miles as we could and not worry about what kind of quality we were doing. So now we're playing catch up once again, just like we are with our ditches and stuff that Terry talked about.
I got a comment. I'm going to get off the roads and everything else and kind of shift gears just a little bit. Back to this comprehensive plan that we've done and some other things John's talked about. I've been to different meetings. I'm on the Indianapolis Board of Economic Development through my board. The map that John showed that shows us in the white is non-growth. Every time I see that map, it aggravates me because, yeah, we are setting. You got Blue County above us and Blue counties to the east of us. We have so much potential, and I sat in meetings in Boone County and Hendricks County that ask us, how come you guys aren't growing? And we have the potential to do so, and that color should change to blue, and we've got the potential to do that. But we cannot expect to grow if we don't plan for growth. And this is what all this plan is that we're trying to do. And I'm going to give you an example. Saturday, I'm sitting in my office, and I had 2 couples come in from Illinois that are they've come to Crawfordsville, they like what they see. I've been to Brownsburg the other night, I had met with people over there that had been to the Ironman that didn't know that I was from Crawfordsville. We have so many things going and so many people that like what they see over here, but these 2 couples came in and told me what they needed in housing. And they said, have you got anything you can show us? And I don't. I can show you all the souls that we've had, but we don't have any now. We have potential for housing growth. And I'm not saying this because that's my job and what I'm into. I'm a small office. I'm sure Remax Carpenter is seeing these things all the time. So we have the potential there to turn that white to blue, but we have to plan to be able to do that. And we can. If we don't, we'll stay white and maybe go back to pink, which would be even worse. So I was off the roads, but I get tired of seeing that white and our potential's here, but we can't do it by sitting still.
We've been 37,000 people in this county for 25 years.
That's why we're white, because everybody sees that we haven't done anything in the past, so they're not expecting us to do anything. So we've got the potential, we just need to move forward with it.
That White is also one of the leading counties in the state of Indiana in agriculture. I'm not against growth, and it doesn't mean I'm backwards because I like agriculture, does it? You know, you're trying to make something out of that it's not, and the truth is, society changes over time. And we're in a trend right now towards urbanization. Bigger companies are getting bigger, and when they build a facility that needs thousands of employees, they tend to build it in an area that has millions of people. I like the way Montgomery County has planned from the day that Montgomery County became a county up to this present day. I don't see anything that has not been planned for, that hasn't come to fruition, and continues to go down that path. A lot of your drawings were so elementary that I'm appalled that we paid for them to say that, well, the growth is going to be on the north side, the growth is going to be on the south side, the growth is going to be out in New Court Corridor. How much did we pay for that illustration? That a child could tell you that's the fact. And to say that your comprehensive plan has something to do with the growth in New Court Corridor or the planning that's going, that planning in New Court Corridor has been going on for 26 years and has never stopped in the planning process. I'm just going to tell you right now that I'm not going to answer to the taxpayers of this county why their road is so deplorable and we're building a bridge over Sugar Creek. That's just, I see that as that would be nice. That would be in my, that would be nice bucket. That would be nice if we could just had all kinds of money and we could fix all the roads and build a bridge over Sugar Creek. But that's not going to be something that I'm going to be in favor of. It's not off the list, but it's way down on the priority list, what I see that we need to do as far as safety and roads. And, you know, I have to ask, what part of the comprehensive plan would solve the problem of those two people from Illinois? I mean, people are going to come here.
Housing.
Roads too. Roads. Yeah,
Now,
well,
I'm gonna ask you, Mark, if we stay at this population we're at, and we have to keep paying health more and everything, how are we gonna keep taxes down without growing? And have more people to pay into it, and more
I am not opposed to growing.
Okay, well, it sounds like you just said
No,
that.
no,
You just got through
it's-
saying that. You
you
didn't
know,
wanna grow, you wanted to stay at.
I have a more organic view of growth. You know, let it happen. Create a place, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Take the taxpayers' money, create a place that's nice for them to live. And when it's time for growth, people will come and they'll say, wow, this is a nice place to live. They have nice roads, and they'll move here. You know,
They can't move here if we don't have housing for them. And we're not
build
gonna
some
have
houses.
that. We're gonna.
You have land.
There's
Build
a
some
reason
houses.
there's developers are not here building houses, Mark. That's the point.
That's why we have to.
You know?
We
It's
can't
the
sit
point.
here and wait on them, we have to.
You guys are trying to
We're
take,
creating that environment. That's what we're
No,
doing.
you're trying
Creating
to
that-
make government-
Make a nice place for people to come. That's what we're doing.
you're trying
We're
to,
creating that environment.
you're
That's
trying
what
to
we're
make government do what business and society will do for itself.
It's not true. It's absolutely not
No,
true.
that's-
What,
no,
you're on
no,
the
that's
sewer
just a
board.
different
Why are you
opinion.
building sewer out
That's just a
there?
different opinion.
Why are you building sewer out there at New Court Corridor? To say growth.
Because I'm backwards and I don't want growth? You tell me, John. You tell me.
I'm making a point, Mark. Answer the question. Why are you supporting
Because
poly?
I understand the need.
There you go. That's
For
exactly right.
infrastructure.
That's what we're doing. We have to create an
So we can agree on
environment.
that.
Huh?
So we're agreeing on that.
Nobody could agree with Mark. You said
What do you
two
mean?
different
You just
things
agreed
right
with
there.
me.
Okay,
You said you want
okay.
the cornfield to be
That's
cornfield, but you want to create an
John, that's
environment.
enough.
I'm gonna say that we take a 5-minute break right now and come back and reconvene.